Alright guys, you see this coming up in front of us? That is where I thought I was gonna have a date tonight.
Wrong-o.
Wrong-o.
I can't sit still for a minute. I'm so dead set on indifference. Keep it Charlie, stay down with them Dickens. Let's get around like it's the 80s. Right round, let's keep spinning. Let's keep playing these games that we don't want to finish.
Let's try to see if we can't get to a place away from people so I can tell you all the shindigs that went down. Or you know what? Screw people. Today's all about rejection anyway, isn't it? Oh no, it's about asking men out.
Flashback.
Alright, so I am about to send a text to a guy I have a crush on, asking him if he would like to hang out tonight. I'm gonna take this message that I wrote on notes. Oh wow, you can't even see that. It says, "Hey, blah blah blah, it was fun playing soccer with you this season. Late notice, but would you want to walk around Little Island with me tonight? I have an extra ticket for 8 p.m. And I'm going to put that in, and I am going to send it, and then I'm gonna let you know how I'm feeling once I send it."
A few moments later.
Okay, I sent it. And I'm not gonna lie, my heart kind of went ba-boom, 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 ba-boom a lot before sending it. Took me a few minutes. And now that I sent it, it's kind of like, well, it's out there.
More moments later.
It really does feel like what it must feel like for the guy, just a little stressful when you like somebody, a little excited, a little nervous that you read the signals wrong.
One eternity later.
Alright, it's now been 20 something minutes since I sent the text. I'm feeling like more and more calm as time goes by. I'm also wondering who's ever away from their phone for 20 minutes, but whatever, that's just my fear talking.
Meanwhile.
You know that I'ma keep it cool. With you I feel like breaking rules. On the edge, looking out with no parachute. You know I'm dreaming about us two, playing around without a clue. On the edge, leaning out. With us it's all or nothing.
Thousands of tears later.
Alright, I got my answer. He rejected me, and to be honest, it doesn't feel great. I had texted him the whole, like, proposal, and he said, "Oh, that's awesome, I've been wanting to check it out for a while. Unfortunately," that's when my heart started to fall. He said, "Unfortunately, I have plans with a friend who is visiting this week, so I can't make it tonight." And then he forgets to use a comma when connecting two independent clauses. He says, "But let me know how it is, smiley face, old school." And that's when I knew I had been rejected, because he did not offer any alternative plans. And so I said, bummer. And then I said, guess I'll just have to find another hottie to go with. Doubling down because, you know, confidence. And so I said, have fun with your friend. And I think it was also good here that I said, guess I'll just have to find another hottie to go with, because that lets him know that, okay, dude, I was asking you out. If you missed it before, now I'm hitting you over the head with a hammer. Like, see it. And he saw it. He saw it, and he responded by saying, haha, good luck with that. Thank you. Who says that? Who says that? But, little did he know I would be finding another hottie to go with.
End of Flashback.
Okay, so that was wild. I am out here vlogging about can a woman ask a man out, and I ran into my Hinge date number 1, and we swapped all these stories about, like, can women ask men out? And he's like, didn't you ask me out? And I'm like, yeah, details. But no, so when I asked him whether or not women can ask men out, he's like, oh, of course. And I'm like, well, like, I mean, outside of dating apps, because, like, on dating apps that happens all the time. I'm like, have you ever been asked out by a woman? And he's like, probably not. So it's probably still not as culturally happening as much that women do it, but I think that needs to change. And I used to not think that way, but I'm becoming a better feminist. Basically, I just thought about this, and I thought that some of the upsides of asking men out are that, one, women have to learn what it's like to be rejected. case in point. And men also will be forced into the position of having to feel what it feels like to be asked out by someone who don't want to be asked out by. And I think that just breeds better empathy in general. This video's a whole mess. The wind is so loud. Let's finish the rest of this inside. But yeah, it's interesting. So I literally used to think the exact opposite almost a week ago, but since thinking about this question, it's like what's been seen cannot be unseen, right? So another thing that made me convinced that women should be asking more men out is the idea that we as women are not objects. Like, duh, right? Like, we're not just objects to be pursued, right? And it's incredibly disempowering to just tell women that our job is to, like, send out signals and, like, wait, right? And hope that the man will pick up on them, like, what? You're a grown woman. You can do whatever you want, you can do whatever it is. Like, we don't do that in any other part of our lives, right? Like, when we want something in our lives, we go after it. Why would we not do the same with our relationships? And it's like, think about it. Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Okay, so you get a little emotionally bruised. Okay, but then what? Then you just keep living. It's funny, so I decided I was going to go to Little Island alone when I got rejected for that date. And what happened? My first Hinge date ever, right? And ended up having a great time with him, reconnecting, hanging out with him like a couple days ago also, like really fun time. And then when I was with him, we ran into more friends, right? And so after I was done hanging out with him, I went and hung out with them. Y'all, somebody needs to tell me why I'm going in loops tonight. I literally am back exactly where I started. I got on a bus to go home, but then my friends were like, no, come out with us. So I'm gonna have to share with you guys the story of can girls ask out men later, because probably the answer is yes, because even if you get rejected, look at this freaking adventure you go on. Literally, I could not have scripted that better if I had tried. Life is an adventure, right? So live it. Don't wait for someone else to make a decision for you. You know, another thing people say about dating a lot is that if a guy likes you, he'll approach you, right? But I am under the impression that there's actually a lot more that's similar between men and women than is different, right? Like, you could say the same thing about women. If women want you, they'll send a signal. They'll let you know. That's not true. Right? We get nervous. Sometimes the situation isn't right, right? Sometimes we think the other person might not like us, so we don't go for it, right? There are all these things that hold women and men back from asking somebody out. So it's not always guaranteed that the guy's gonna go after you just because he feels some sort of way. Sure, you can qualify that and be like, he doesn't like you enough to go after you, but like, maybe he doesn't know you enough. Right? So maybe it would help him if you went on a date. Maybe then he'd approach you. And you know, another thing that women will say a lot, I'm guilty of this, is that we want to be desired. Okay, that's fair. But I was thinking about this, and being desired and asking someone out, like, those are not mutually exclusive. Like, just because you ask someone out doesn't mean that they're not coming with like poetry and rose petals to woo ya, you know? Like, those things can both happen. Asking someone out is just like starting a conversation, right? It's basically just like saying, hey, I like you enough to want to know more about you, right? It's not a marriage proposal, right? And any person, any guy who takes it as one, like, that dude's got some deep-rooted issues that he has to work out on his own time, and honey, you dodged a bullet. Because the problem isn't asking a person out, right? The problem is putting another person on a pedestal before you've had a chance to actually learn whether or not that person is right for you, whether or not that person actually matches the attention, affection, values, whatever it is that you want. And you know what leads to putting a person on a pedestal? It's waiting around for someone else to ask you out while your brain has time to fantasize and make up stories about what they might be like. Oh, I got all these weeks where he's not asking me out. Oh, maybe he's the greatest guy ever. You won't know. You're just you're just putting him higher on the pedestal. He hasn't earned that. Right? Think about it. Dating is not about the woman sending signals and the man pursuing. Dating is about both people pursuing, right? Like, we just do it in these super gender normed ways, but right now it's about both people pursuing and trying to figure out if you have an actual connection while you do it. What ends up happening in actuality is you end up like learning about each other bit by bit, right? Tit for tat. And you end up matching the energy that the other person is giving you. So if you'd like something more romantic and the other person, for whatever reason, isn't escalating, like who knows, maybe they're dating someone else, maybe they like girls with short fingers and you have long fingers, who knows, people have preferences, then it's up to you to be vulnerable and try and escalate it yourself. Because let's be honest, that's what most women are actually scared of. Right? It's not about not being feminine and not wanting to ask first. No, it's about being rejected, right? Because it is strategically safer to not let the other person know what your cards are, right? And to let them make the first bet. But if the other person isn't making that bet, you can bet that 1,000 times out of 1,000, I will be acting on my desires, because I would rather see something fail because I miscalculated than see something fail because I miscommunicated, right? My desire for love is greater than my desire to keep my ego intact. Tact? Damn, I have no tact.
Flashback.
So before I filmed today, I actually procrastinated by watching Won't You Be My Neighbor, the documentary about Mr. Rogers, and I've just been crying for the last 2 hours because Mr. Rogers' whole like central philosophy was to like love your neighbor and also to like love yourself. And I just thought that this tied so well into this idea of rejection and asking people, you know, if they want to go out with you. It's like, if you do get rejected, at the end of the day, if you are aware of your own inherent value, then there is nothing anybody can say or do that can ever diminish that. I think that's a useful part of asking people out too, is you learn to not take these things so personally.
I think everybody longs to be loved and longs to know that he or she is lovable. And consequently, the greatest thing that we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving.
End of Flashback.
It is an act of courage to let somebody else know that you like them, right? And it is an act of self-love to know that no matter what they say, that doesn't diminish your value. Now, after being rejected, it's like the only thing I regret is not having asked him out sooner. I wasted 7 weeks of my life going over in my head like, oh, was that a sign? Was that not a sign? Is he gonna ask me out? Is he not gonna ask me out? Oh my God, who cares? Why would I do that to myself, right? Whereas as soon as I asked him out, I had a little cry sesh, it was great, and the next day, I was back to normal. I was back to living. Asking empowered me. Asking gave me my agency back. I mean, I did question whether or not he was blind. Or dumb. So don't you guys ever forget, we are grown women. We can do whatever we want, whatever it is. Sing it, Beyonce. And if somebody doesn't like you, then you can just play another Beyonce song. Why don't you love me when I make me so damn easy to love? Yeah, if you are a grown woman who does whatever she wants and you want to donate to my Patreon, feel free to do so down below, or feel free to go and watch more of my videos. And if you don't want to, well, you know, why don't you love me? Just kidding. Ciao.